Hey everybody, this is Michael Antonio here. I gotta talk about. We gotta get into this whole gun situation, the student protest today around the country in Washington. It's getting out of hand, and to be honest with you, these kids have been brainwashed. Okay, this is not about guns. It never has been. Because I gotta tell you, if a criminal wants to kill somebody, they'll use anything. They'll use knives. They will use hammers. They will use whatever they can to kill someone. So this is not about guns. Making a new gun law is not going to save lives. It's simply not. It's not going to happen. And so I think what we need to do here is stop talking about guns. We have to tell these children, this is all brainwashing by the left wing, by Marxists, who essentially are using the children. Think about what they say. Think about what they are saying. Every time they do this, they say, "Oh, what? These poor kids! Look what happened to them. You're not going to listen to them. You don't care about them. Then you just want them to get murdered. You want more of them to die." And it's just, it's such hyperbole and baloney. It's all a lie. None of this stuff is true, guys. It's simply not true. And for them to even use those things, I gotta tell you, it's scary. I'll tell you what's scary. They say that not having these gun laws are scary. What's really scary is that we would even pay attention to any of this. I think we should have told these children a long time ago when they started talking about this. Look, man, it is not time for you right now to teach us. You are children. Your minds are not fully developed. You're not ready to teach. You are still in the learning phase of your life. You need to sit down, close the mouth, and learn. Learn what is right. I remember when I was a kid, a lot of friends that I knew, they carried guns in their trucks and in their cars to school. Nobody had a problem. We didn't hear about any mass shootings at high schools and these different places. Now they had some bomb threats once in a while, but it was never anything serious like what's going on now. And you can try to say, well, it's because of guns, but the gun laws have not changed. The gun laws have never helped protect people. And I want you to think about this, because you got to understand that guns will always be with us. There will always be guns in this country and around the world. Guns can't be stopped. A piece of paper that says no guns allowed is not going to stop a criminal from getting a gun. I don't care if they have to smuggle it in from foreign interests. It doesn't matter. Guns will always be available to bad people in this country. The question is, will they be available to good people? Will a gun be available to good people and stay that way, just as our forefathers intended? They wrote the Second Amendment to protect against the ignorance that we've been hearing in Washington today from children that have been brainwashed by a group of people who want to restrict gun rights, want to take guns away from people. And it doesn't matter what they say to your face. It doesn't matter that they say, well, we don't want to take guns away. Yes, they do. They are lying to you if they tell you they don't want to take guns away from you. We've already heard it from them, from these same people. They've said it before. We want to abolish the Second Amendment. And you know what? It's unacceptable, people. We have to stop it right now. If these children are truly serious about their safety, we need to make laws that protect them right where they are. We actually have to have tangible, protective measures, which means what? Actual security. Actual armed security near and at the schools. Furthermore, why don't these people do their jobs? Why don't the enforcement agencies that were charged with protecting all of us do what they were told to do? Why did they, after hearing several complaints about this particular child and his violent tendencies, why did they not take action against this particular child to stop him in some way? They ignored the cries. And then he goes in and shoots a bunch of children. Those poor kids. I feel terrible for what happened. But this is not the fault of the NRA or of gun owners or of even the Second Amendment. None of this is because of our gun laws. It has nothing to do with ink on a piece of paper. Nothing to do with ink on a piece of paper. I'm sorry, guys. Ink on a piece of paper has never protected a single person from death and injury. It hasn't. Only tangible things can protect you. In some cases, it can be your fist. In some cases, it can be a knife. In some cases, it can be even the threat of your strength that'll protect you. But a lot of times, it needs to be a gun. You need to have force. You have to meet that force they have with your force. If you don't, a criminal will take advantage of you. And I know this because I've been around criminal elements all of my life. I've worked in the justice system. I've seen what goes on. I've seen the mind of a criminal. And I can tell you, the only way to get through to a criminal and to stop a criminal is to have more power than that criminal, more physical strength than that criminal. How do you do that? You have to have more arms. You have to have more guns. And I know that people's, well, how do you solve more guns with guns? Well, it's just the way it is. In war, who wins a war? If you think about it, who wins the war? In a war, the winner is the one that has the strongest army. It's that simple. If you have the strongest army, if you have more weapons and more powerful weapons than your enemy, or at least use them, guess what? You win the war. How are we going to win this war? Ink on a piece of paper? Ink on a piece of paper is going to make us win this, right? Is that what you think? Is that you think you're going to just win a battle by writing something down? And I'll give you an example. The most gun violence, or I should say the most murder by guns, is committed by criminals in gun-free zones. For instance, Chicago is a gun-free zone, correct? Did you know that Chicago leads this country in murders per capita? It actually leads America in murders. And it's a gun-free zone. Now, I know that if you walk in Chicago, you will see signs in many places. This is a gun-free zone. This is a gun-free zone. Well, you know what? Criminals love seeing those signs because they know, gee, the good little people will walk around without guns because they're afraid of going to jail or getting into trouble. And guess what happens? The criminals come out in force. They come out of the woodwork with their weapons. Now, in many cases, they don't even have to have a gun. They can have a knife. They can have their bare fists. Sometimes their mere presence and their menacing persona will force people to be afraid and to back down, to give them their wallets or do whatever it is that criminal wants them to do. So we're at a crossroads in America here. Are we going to allow the left wing, and yes, make no mistake about it, it's a Marxist operation that's brainwashing our children into believing that what we need to do is make another law. Write something else down. Let's write something down. Daily Affirmations by Stuart Smalley. Remember that guy? Yeah, he's no longer in Congress, thank the living God. But anyway, we have to understand this, that writing down something on a piece of paper is not going to stop the violence. It's simply not. You have to scare the criminal. And how do you scare the criminal? You do so by having bigger guns and better guns and more powerful defenses. It's the bottom line. Trust me, I've been around criminal elements. I know how they think. They know that if you're weak, they're going to go after you. Think about the law of nature. And I want you to take this to heart, guys. Stop listening to the media. Stop listening to the children in Washington who are very afraid. They have a right to be afraid, but they don't have the right to impose new, very ignorant laws upon us, thinking they're doing us a favor. There's a reason why they are students and young people, because they're still in the learning phase of their life. They're not ready to set policy for America or for the world, for that matter. They're not ready for that. Their minds are not fully developed yet. So let's have a little lesson right now. I used to teach. I used to teach in school, so I have a little bit of authority here on this matter, if you will indulge me. The law of nature. I learned this in biology and other courses. The law of nature states that the weak can't survive. That a predator will go after the slowest and the weakest because it's easier for that particular animal to get their prey. It's easier for them. Why would they chase after the fastest? Why would a lion chase after the fastest gazelle? They would expend far too much energy. They may not capture it, and they're going to starve to death trying. So what do? They go after the slowest, weakest gazelle. Oftentimes the children, because they're not really... The children are oftentimes the weakest. They're not quite able to run as fast as the adult prey. And so what do? They fall behind. And unfortunately, many of them are eaten. And here, this is what's happening. It's kind of an interesting parallel. It's what's happening in America now with these children. These children are preyed upon by these movements led by people like Chuck Schumer, who should be ashamed. Chuck Schumer trying to brainwash these children into believing that we just write a new law down on paper and, oh, that's going to protect us all. That's a wonderful idea. So the left wing preys on these kids and tries to tell, oh, when you just make gun laws, we're going to protect you guys. We care. Those bad guys, that bad NRA, they don't care about you. They want you to die. That's what they tell these kids. And these kids, because they're so young and so innocent, so impressionable, so not developed yet in their minds to understand what's going on in the world. They don't understand common sense yet, not really. They're taught the lie. That, the common sense is to have a gun law. That'll stop those guns from coming into those areas. Really? Have you talked to criminals? Do you know? Do they really have the life experience to understand how a criminal thinks? Criminals love when people can't defend themselves. That's why they go after them. When's the last time you saw a criminal walk up to a cop and try to steal from a cop? When's the last time? A criminal will only fight a cop when they have no other choice, when they're cornered. That's the only time they'll fight. And most of the time they lose that war, don't they? So what I'm saying is, you're not going to go after... Criminals don't usually go after cops because they know they're going to lose ultimately. So this is what we have to understand. The criminal element doesn't care about a law. And the law of the jungle is that the weak get eaten. The weak are devoured by the evil, by the strongest. So how do we protect ourselves from these criminals, from these animals that are trying to prey upon us? I'll tell you how. We have to be stronger than them. So what do? We get other lions that are good. The good lions, the good in our society that have the weapons of war. They stand at the gate and say, you're not coming here. And it isn't some piece of paper, some sign. Or sign, so there's a gun-free zone, you better not come in here with a gun. The criminals scoff at that. They laugh at that. They find that to be very good for them. And so what do? Here's what we do. We have security now standing at the gate of school and say, come on, try it. Want to go with a gun? You won't have me. And if some wide chance you do get past me, somebody behind me to take you out. You're not going to hurt our kids today on our watch. Not on our watch. It's not happening. And so this is the best way to deal with this. Gun laws will not work. In America today, we have some of the strictest gun laws in many areas of this country. And I have to say it again because it's very important for you to hear this. For those who haven't heard me before, I have to say this again. The worst gun murder in America is happening in places with the strictest gun laws. Let me say that again. The highest rates of murder by guns are happening in regions that are gun-free zones. The gun laws are the most strict. So do you understand why these children are in Washington today and around the country? Do you understand why they have been lied to? Why they're not telling the truth? Hi, Tiara. Thank you for coming to visit. I hope the baby's okay. You know if the baby's all right. And I got to tell you that right now in this country, we need to understand. We need to understand that gun laws will not save us. It's not going to happen. We've already tried that. Look, this is everybody talks of, experts talk about the scientific method. Well, let's use the scientific method. The hypothesis originally was for gun grabbers, those that wanted to have gun laws, well, we need gun laws. That'll protect us. Well, we've tried that. We've tried that hypothesis. The test failed, which means the hypothesis was false. Gun laws do not protect us. Now we got to try something different. So let's use the scientific method. Instead of being, I don't want to be mean or angry at people who think that gun laws are going to work, even though we know they've already failed. So let's just be scientific about this, and let's say, hey, we're going to try a new thing now. Now we got a new hypothesis. My hypothesis is peace through strength, safety through strength. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to make new laws that add security to our schools and allow certain teachers who have been trained properly to carry guns, to actually have a gun to protect our children, our precious children. Let's try that. Let's try it for about 5 or 10 years, for about a decade, and see where the numbers come. Let's see what happens with those numbers at the end of that decade. Let's say by around 2028, or even if we started it 2 years from now, but I say start it right now. So in about 2028, after we've had the laws for about 10 years and protected our children with security at the schools, let's go back and revisit our numbers and see what happens. In addition to that, I'm totally in favor of having better mental health laws that keep an eye on children that are mentally unstable through any means, but by any method, no matter how it happened. That's not important. It's we know they have a problem. We have to make sure that they themselves are protected from themselves, which brings up another subject I wanted to bring up. Do you know how most gun deaths occur in this country? The greatest number of gun deaths happen, not murders, deaths, because there is a difference. The greatest number of gun deaths occur through suicide, not murder, not going and killing someone else, but disturbed people killing themselves. So we don't have a gun problem in this country. We have a mental health issue in this country. Why are so many people depressed to the point of suicide, wanting to kill themselves? We have to solve that problem first. We have to solve that first, guys. We can't worry about making a law to restrict guns. We have to start getting to the nitty-gritty here. We have to start protecting people from themselves by evaluating those that are so depressed that they are willing to end their own lives. Let's try that approach. Let's protect our children with security at schools. Let's allow teachers to be armed if they so choose. I wouldn't make it mandatory. And then let us deal nicely and let's deal very benevolently with those that are depressed. Let's fix the problem. Let's stop using all these drugs on them. We got to kind of reduce that. I think all those they call them SSRIs. A lot of those things are very dangerous for certain people. It isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. I'm sure there are some people where it works for them, but maybe some of those people don't need those kind of things. Maybe they need something else in their life, And I think that's what we have to start caring more about people. We need to start caring more about people. Thank you, Remy, and thank you for coming on board. I really appreciate you stopping by. And I want people to understand that we need to care. This is about love. Let's get back to love. Let's get back to good, sound morals. Can we get back to good, sound morals? Teaching children that life is valuable from even before the cradle, in the womb. Life is valuable from the womb to the grave. Let's teach people that children have value. And you know what? Maybe we should start considering that maybe killing a baby before it's born, before it comes out of the womb, is not such a good thing either. Can we think about that? You know, I didn't hear one thing from any of these children marching in Washington today. You know, you would think that children would have varied voices on this subject. You would think that when these kids marched on Washington, one of them would scream out, "Why are we allowing people to kill their children in the womb? Why are we murdering our babies in the womb? Why do we place such little value on the life of a child that hasn't had the chance to come out and live life? Why do we put such little value on them?" I didn't hear that from any of the kids today speaking. I wonder why that is. I wonder why, you know, all of these, I call them handlers, the Democrat handlers that, you know, paraded all these children in front of cameras today all over the country. Why didn't they allow any of them to say that? Why didn't I hear anything about greater security at schools and not worrying, you know, and why didn't we hear some of the kids say, you know what, we tried gun laws, they really don't work. Gun laws don't protect our children. Gun laws are a waste of effort. Gun laws are nothing more than a piece of paper. That's all they are. Why didn't we hear that today, guys? Why was the only argument? Why was the only argument we got to have more gun laws? We got to restrict Second Amendment rights. Why was that the only language I heard today? You know what that tells me? That tells me there was a corrupt agenda behind all of this. Because I can guarantee you, I've heard it from some children. I've heard some children say, I'd rather not infringe upon our Second Amendment. I'd rather not. I've heard some children say that. Why didn't I hear them on TV saying that, though? I've only heard them personally. You know why? Because the people in charge of all that don't want those kids coming up and saying that, because they have another agenda, people. Wake up, America. Wake up, people. Learn and figure out what's going on in this country. What's going on is you have an agenda that is corrupt. It is corrupt. And they are trying to get control of our country. They don't care about, they really don't care. You want to talk about who doesn't care about the kids? These handlers, these people that financed these children's trips, you know, to Washington and to certain places in the country. The ones that financed that whole thing, that bankrolled all of that, they don't really care about those kids. They care about the message they want to send. And it gains them control again. They want to get control. They want to be able to control you. They know that if they can take your guns away from you, you don't have a voice anymore, because they can just come and take it from you. They can just come and they can take anything from you. They can go into your home and just do whatever they want with you. They can do whatever they want. And you know, gun rights are only one of our rights, but it's an important right. And all of our founding fathers that cobbled together that Constitution that is so precious to us, they made the Second Amendment for a reason. It wasn't just for hunting. It wasn't just for a militia. So a bunch of people, oh yeah, well, we'll keep it at a little militia center where they can all gather and fight a war. That's not why they did. In fact, the founding fathers, many of them, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, they all talked about why that Second Amendment was drafted, why they said it the way they said it. And all of it was basically the right to bear arms, not to be infringed in any way, shape, or form. It was to protect, and they said it was specifically to protect the individual from its government. That's a powerful thing, and they all said that. But you won't hear that from the mouths of the Democrats and those that are anti-Second Amendment and those that are anti-free speech and anti-freedom in every way. They would rather have safety. Who is it that said, I believe it was, I don't know if it was Thomas Jefferson, or I believe it might have been, I think it might have been Ben Franklin. Benjamin Franklin said, those who would choose safety above freedom deserve neither safety nor freedom. And that's the truth. That's what's going to happen. Here's what happens. When you take away someone's freedom, then the government can come in and also endanger your safety in many ways. Think about it. When you tell a person you don't have the right to protect yourself, we're going to take your guns from you. People think, well, that means you're protecting, like if the cops come, you can't protect, the military is going to come to your house. How are you going to stop the military with one or two guns? That's not the point. The point is that if the guy, I want you guys to listen to this. This is very important to understand because they use what is called a straw man argument. This is called a straw man argument. They use a straw man argument to try to tell you why your ideas are ridiculous. They say, well, your couple of guns are not going to stop an entire military force from coming in and taking, and stopping you and hurting you or taking you away. And that may very well be true. However, if the cops come in and take all the guns you have now, guess what happens? You are in danger. They have endangered your freedom and your safety because now you don't have a way to protect yourself from anybody else. So a criminal comes by, wants to steal from you, and they want to kill you. Guess what? You can't protect yourself now. You just died because the government took your guns away from you. And it doesn't matter if it was the government pulling the trigger. If they took your guns away from you, now you're a sitting duck for any criminal, anybody that wants to kill you. So we have to understand that. We have to fight this. We cannot give quarter to any of these arguments. Don't ever tell somebody that's anti-gun. Don't ever tell somebody that you agree with more gun laws. Don't. Don't concede a single inch to these people. They are liars, and they're simply trying to steal your freedom. Don't do it. Don't concede to them. Don't make those kind of concessions. If they tell you, well, it's common sense gun law, there's no such thing as a common sense gun law because it's just words on a piece of paper. That's all it is words on a piece of paper. You want common sense? Common sense is having a gun in your house so that when somebody comes to steal from you or shoot you or whatever they're going to do, you can defend yourself. Now that's common sense. I want you to think about that for a minute. And let's go back to school when you were a kid. Let's go back to when you were a child walking around in school, and maybe you experienced this. I don't know, but if you did, I feel bad for you because I was also a victim of bullying. What happened when the bully came to you? Now, most of the time, as someone who's bullied, you have this fear of the bully because they have some, and usually a bully can be a pretty strong person, or at least they're more aggressive than you are, and so they come at you with their aggression, and in many cases, they're stronger than you. So they push you around a little. They tell you where they take your lunch money. Sometimes they'll come and take your lunch itself. Whatever. They will terrorize you. And it's so, and trust me, I know this feeling. I was bullied as a child. And I can tell you, it is such a feeling of fear. It is such a fearfulness of these people. Now, we know that in schools, I'm sure they had laws, they had little rules in school that said, what did the rules say? No bullying. You're not allowed to pick on other kids or beat on other kids. Violence was not allowed. Those were things on paper, right? That was written down by the teachers, right? By the administration that ran the school system. They said, you're not allowed to be beating up on other kids. Those laws existed. How come they didn't protect you from bullies then? How come people like me, I was bullied as a child. I'm going to admit that. It was very embarrassing, and it was scary, and it was something that I don't want anyone else to ever have to experience. It's a terrifying feeling, and I can tell you, I would have never walked in front of a camera or on a microphone and said, we need more laws to protect us. I would have never said that. You know what I would have said? I would have said, we need more teachers that are allowed to stop bullies by actually grabbing those kids and giving them a good spanking. Giving them a good, giving a kid a good spanking. See, we had spankings back then, but even then it wasn't strong enough because they didn't do it enough. We needed to be able to protect ourselves from those bullies, and a piece of paper wasn't going to do it. How did you stop the bully? How do you stop those kind of bullies? We needed back then what we needed, and we need now is to have those bullies scared. We need to scare those bullies back. That's how you do it. You scare the bullies. So how do we do it? How can you do it in a way that you're not bullies? So how do we do it? How can you do it in a way that you're not, violating some law? Violating, this, even the safety of a bully. How do you do it without, anything short of actually injuring the bully beyond repair? Maybe you bring the police into the school and have the bully arrested. Actually arrest the bully. Not an actual arrest on paper. In other words, not actually, maybe we have a setup where police can come into the school and arrest a bully, and maybe bring them downtown, book them, even if it's not unofficially. Go, just arrest that child that's bullying, and book them, bring them downtown, and book them into the and have a little record. Maybe have a record made in the school system. This child was arrested, and after so many times the kid is expelled. And then maybe after so many times the parent is arrested. Maybe we can actually arrest the parent if the bully keeps persisting about committing a crime. You see, you have to understand that bullying is a crime. When you are hitting another child, that's called battery. In the adult world, if you threaten someone, that's called assault. If you beat them, if you hit them in any way, that's called battery. So you have assault and battery taking place every day in schools. And the only difference is those kids are minors, they're not adults. But there has to be a punishment. And so how do you do this? Those laws aren't going to matter unless you enforce it. Unless you tell them, if you do this, this is what's going to happen to you. You know, I'm telling you, this is not about restricting guns. Because you see, a bully and a criminal, criminals who are bullies, that's what they are as well, they don't think like the average person. They don't think like a good person, like a nice guy or a nice gal. They think like a criminal, and the criminal only thinks about what they can do to get over on somebody else, what they can do to take from someone, and heap upon themselves. See, those people they're led astray. They're children of Satan. That's what they are. They are a child of the devil. They don't care about your freedom. They don't care about your life. They don't care about anything else but taking away from you. Do you understand this? A gun law is not going to change that. All you're going to do is take guns away from good people, and that means the bad people are going to have more free reign over the good people. So let me just conclude by saying these children that are marching on Washington today have been misled greatly. They've been grandly misled. And I think it's incumbent upon us to stop this travesty and to teach these kids the right way to do things. Let's teach them the right way. So if you see any of these children that marched and that walked out of their school today, and you have a chance to sit down with them, please teach them truth. Don't teach them the propaganda that is coming out of the mouths of the Democrats, the people who are trying to control our guns, that are trying to stop us. I think we have to teach our children truth. And the only way to teach truth is to be strong and to make sure that we don't falter when these other groups, when these agenda-driven, corrupt people try to shame us into lying, into telling a lie. They even tried to do it to Donald Trump. You know, trying to say it's guns. Remember that little CNN town hall, that travesty of justice? How they tried to shame, Dana Loesch. They tried to shame her for supporting the NRA, for being a spokesperson for the NRA. And they tried to shame that sheriff, that shameful sheriff who tried to shame her. It was his fault that a lot of that's happened. It was his fault that his own deputies failed to go in and protect those students. You see, that was the fault of the FBI, who didn't follow up on the problems with his child. And then, of course, this shameful sheriff down there in South Florida who didn't do anything to protect those children. It's his fault. Why are the children there not marching on that police department today? They should be marching on the FBI headquarters today. They should be marching everywhere the FBI sets up camp. They should be marching in every sheriff's office that does not protect our children with actual physical force, with actual guns, actual arms, defense systems that will stop evil people who will always circumvent pieces of paper, a little ink on pieces of paper. The criminals don't care about a law. This is, AR-15s have now been banned. Oh boy, I guess I can't use that now. Oh boy. And remember, this is all basically a big trick, because here's what's going to happen. If somehow we ban our AR-15s and some of these, what they call assault weapons, they're not really assault rifles. An AR-15 is not an assault rifle, by the way, but even if it was, and even if we ban it, what's going to happen is it's not going to change the violence. And so here's what they'll do. And this is why they're doing this. Make no mistake, this is why the left wing also does not support, having a security team at schools, because they know it actually works. And see, their goal is not to protect the children. Their goal is to get the guns away from citizens. That's their goal. Their goal is to get the guns away from the citizens. They don't care really about the children, because see, if they cared about the children, they would listen to the argument of having security at the schools. But see, here's their agenda. I'm going to tell you what their agenda is. Please don't forget this, because this is absolutely the truth. Here's what's going to happen. They'll ban the AR-15s, and then more mass shootings will happen, but see, they're going to happen with pistols like they usually do. And then they'll say, well, gee, it didn't work for the AR-15, so now we got to ban pistols. We got to ban everything, because after all, we thought it was just the AR-15s, but our kids are still dying, and oh, you're so evil for not caring about them. So now let's go ahead and make all guns illegal. That way, we'll never have to worry about violence again. And of course, by that point, the violence won't stop. But by then, they'll already have all our guns taken away, and they'll have laws that will not be changeable. They're not going to let them be changed. So they'll just say, I'm sorry, oh well, we didn't believe in the Second Amendment anyway, and too bad for you, oh well, we got you now, and there's nothing you can do about it now. This is how they operate. This is communism. This is Marxism. They little by little take little things away from you until before you know it, you got nothing. And this is how they do it. And they always lie to you. They always try to come up with good little lies, like, oh, it's common sense. Oh, it's such common sense to have a law to protect. I mean, what do you really need? And I love the language they use. Do you really need an AR-15? Do you really need an assault rifle? Do you really need that? Do you really need it? I mean, well, it's funny. I should ask them. Do you really need to take private jets back to your home from Washington? Do you really need those things? Why don't you fly coach? Why are you stealing from the taxpayers? Do you really need that? So whenever they start coming up with, do you need that? I say to them, this is America, mofo. This is America. And guess what? In America, it's not about what we need. It's about our rights. It's about what we want. We can have whatever we want, as long as we don't use it to hurt someone else. It's that simple. See, America was based on behavior, not on ownership. We are allowed to own everything we can own. That's just part of our freedom. And this is what we have to express to the left wing, to these criminals. They're criminals as well. We have to express to them that it's not about ownership. Because see, I can own every gun in the world. I could have every gun in the world in my home. And if I don't touch it, and I don't pull the trigger, it's not going to kill anyone. It's not going to harm anyone. Sorry, but that's just the truth. It's not going to harm a single person until you actually grab a hold of it and use it. So, when someone asks you, do you really need that? Say, yeah, I feel like I do, and it's about how I feel and what I want. And then I say, am I going to hurt someone with it? And if they say, well, I don't know, say, well, if you don't know, then you're not allowed to tell me I can't have it. If you don't, until you see me trying to harm someone, you don't have a right to tell me no. I'm sorry. The price of freedom is sometimes not being able to control what somebody else thinks or what they do. The price of freedom is sometimes being offended by someone else's ownership or what they say. That's just the price of freedom. Are you strong enough to live in a land where freedom reigns supreme? Are you strong enough to live in America? I would tell if you're not strong enough for America, then there's the door. You need to go where weak people live. You need to go to a place where weak people are controlled by stronger people. In America, only the strong survive. And you know what? I'm offended by a lot of things that a lot of people say. I'm offended by the left wing's narrative and by their thought process. I am. It offends me greatly. But you know what? This is America. They can say what they want. No, they're not allowed to have everything they want. They're not allowed to control what I own. They're not allowed to control many things. They can't control those things. But they can say what they want. They're allowed to say it. But I'm also allowed to criticize them for saying it. I'm allowed to actually rebut what they say, and there's nothing they can do about that either. So I think this is what we need to understand, that there's a very evil agenda. This is straight from the pit of hell, folks. There's an evil agenda being perpetrated against us, and it's happening today in our schools. You can see it happening. These kids walking out of school and in Washington, marching in Washington. These kids really don't have a clue what's going on. They think they're doing the world a favor. They think they're doing you and me a favor by saying, "Oh, we have gun laws. Don't you care about us?" Yeah, I care. In fact, I care more about you than that idiot Chuck Schumer that was standing behind you today. Chuck Schumer doesn't give two frigs about you. Chuck Schumer only cares about Chuck Schumer and his Democrat left-wing agenda. That's all he cares about. I'm telling you. And I will tell Chuck Schumer to his face, too. That's all Chuck Schumer cares about. Let me tell you something. America is stronger than he and his ideas will ever be. We are. Our ideas far outweigh what he thinks and what he believes and what the left-wing agenda is trying to push on us. And I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to win this war. We're going to win this war because, you see, they have bad ideas. Ideas always trump, stupid feelings that they have. Oh, they're such scary things, those guns. Let's get rid of them. Really? Well, the criminals don't happen to think they're scary. The criminals kind of like them. The criminals use them to hurt people, and sometimes to kill people. And what are we able to do? What in the world are we able to do if we don't have the ability to stop them with a weapon at least as powerful as they have? I don't want to hear this argument, make a gun law and it'll all stop. No, it's not going to stop. Because I'm going to tell you something right now. I want somebody with a weapon, when some crazy man or a criminal walks into a restaurant or a public place and starts shooting up people and I'm there, I want somebody else, at least one person with a gun there, to shoot back at them. So they have to either they're going to be shot and die and be killed by the protector, or they're going to have to go hide themselves and have a shootout. And guess what? That's going to give me time, and it's going to give you time to get out of there and be safe. It's going to buy you time, if nothing else. That's the common sense. That's the reality, folks. And I'm telling you right now, I'm getting tired of this. I'm getting tired of these lies. I'm getting tired of our children being lied to and being brainwashed by an agenda that is so corrupt, you don't even have an idea. You don't even have any idea what's going on right now. You have no idea how bad it is. And I'm telling you, it's going to stop. We're going to stop it. We're not going to bow down to this agenda. And I don't want to attack the children. I feel sorry for the children. I'll tell them the truth, and I'll tell them, you need to sit down now and learn. It's not your time to teach yet. Someday, maybe someday soon, some of those kids will be wise sooner than others. Some of those children, but it's not time. It's not time for those children to be standing up and teaching the adults in the room. It's not. Someday it will be. But as I said before, I don't hate the children. I don't have anything against the children. What I do have, I have a bone to pick with the adults who are brainwashing the children. I have something very much against people like Chuck Schumer and Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. I do have something against those people that are trying to foist very bad laws on us to control us. Again, do people like Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton care about babies in the womb who have not had a voice? They don't have a voice? You want to give voice to these teenagers, yet you don't want to give voice to the innocent children who are even more innocent, more vulnerable to death than a teenager is. People like Barack Obama when he was in Illinois, okay, as a senator in Illinois, what did he do? He actually voted for late-term abortion, okay, the killing of a baby in the womb. Hillary Clinton said on video, it's recorded, that babies in the womb do not have the right to life. They do not have constitutionally protected rights. She said that. What more can I say to you? And yet we're going to listen to her and the corrupt agenda that proceeds from her mouth and from the mouths of those that support her? We're going to listen to her? No, she's corrupt to the core. She's corrupt to the core. Just as the ancient murderous tribes of the world worshiped their gods by sacrificing their babies to those gods. Yes, murdering those babies. What makes it any different now? What are they killing the babies for? In the name of convenience. In the name of what they call a woman's right to choose. That's a false god, folks. That is a false god. Think about this for a minute. Let me ask you this. How much safer are our children in schools than those babies that are carried into they're carried into an abortion clinic? I want you to think about that for a minute. When a baby inside the womb goes into an abortion clinic, okay, they have a 0% chance of survival. When one of our children, and in my case, my grandchildren now, when they go into a school, they have a very high chance of surviving the day because, mass shootings don't happen as much. They don't, they're not, and, in some cases, some schools are protected. They do have resource officers that are armed at some schools. So, some schools are protected to some degree. But the point I'm making is, they don't seem to care about those children that need protection. They don't care about those kids. In fact, they say let them die. The mother gets to choose. It's the mother's right. It's the mother's, let mama take them out. Really? And yet they're all up in arms about our children being killed by a crazy man with a gun. It's hypocrisy to the highest degree, folks. Don't buy into it. Don't buy it. It's criminal. And I'm getting aggravated by this, so I'm gonna talk about this more later. I'm gonna tell you all, you need to stop this. We need to destroy the notion that it's okay, it's okay to kill a baby before it comes out of its mother. But, it's not okay for somebody to protect themselves with a gun. We have to restrict their rights. It doesn't even make sense. These people are nonsensical because they're being brainwashed. This is a corrupt agenda, and again, straight out of the pit of hell. This is why we know that evil exists and it's real. Because it's alive and well in our Democrat Party, and in some cases in the Republican Party as well. That's right. So we know that evil exists because we live in it every day. We see how bad this world is getting. So, and there's much more I could say, and there's much more I will say later, not today though. But guys, I want to thank everybody that came on here and listened. Those of you who are listening later, in the non-live version, thank you for coming on board and listening. Send me your thoughts, your messages, your prayers.
Find something new. There's no other way to let you know it's time for you to go.